multiple goals actually slowed down. The people...
Everything we do is in a wave. There's energy waves. Focus on where you're going. Find the energy. Then when that wave is there, when that energy wave is there, hop on and take it until...
Welcome to the A Players Podcast, the place where we build and interview leaders in their field so that you can hone your skills and be at the top of your game, allowing you to make the most of any situation and reach higher levels of success. I'm your host, Lewis Haydon, coach to very high income earners, and I'm on a mission to give everyone the opportunity to step into wealth by giving you the skills, tools, and actionable steps to go that next level. Better leaders, more profits, faster. So today we're bringing on an A player in his game, and he's going to share his experience about how he builds A players, not just in the business world, but in the athlete world as well. The athlete's secret weapon himself, CEO's secret weapon himself, Stuart Walter. So just a quick reminder that the A Players podcast and community remains free. It is my mission to give back and share with you, the listener, knowledge gained from working with highly successful individuals and extensive research in management science. In line with allowing us to achieve that mission, we ask that you help by subscribing to this podcast or YouTube, Spotify, Apple, whatever you may be listening on, and also sharing this with someone that you feel could really help change their lives. Help them out by copying this link and sliding it into their DMs. And for those, of course, that are eager to dive deeper and boost their income using these tools, we also do the 100K Club, which is membership on Spotify, which offers detailed how-to steps of how you do that, which Stuart will be sharing with us later on as well. So simply just click on the padlock on Spotify and it gives you access to all that content. So let's get started with today's show. So, Stuart, you're probably well known in my community and my circle already because we have the CEO Secret Weapon podcast, don't we?
We do, and what a lovely podcast it is.
Yeah, it's been going great, and we jump in there, and there's so much content now that people are starting to become more aware of it, and they're catching up on it. So more stuff for us to come in the future. But you also have other podcasts as well, Stuart. You have the Athletes. What's it called? What's the Athletes podcast?
The Athletes Secret Weapon, a podcast. Because, this year is, and Lewis and I have discussed this year is a huge year for me being Olympic year. So there was already, two athletes and a coach today that are potentially going to be at the Olympics. So helping them and really honing in. So for me this year, I can't spread myself too thin. So what I do incredibly well. So at the moment, where it looks like and through discussions, parking the CEO's secret weapon until, I guess, the Olympics is over, until we're both sort of back and breathing and back on track and able to kind of spread out a bit more.
Absolutely, yeah. So what we're going to talk about today, just to give people the upfront of what we're going to speak about and why Stuart's on the podcast, is we are all about A players. What's an A player? Somebody who has that drive to go out there and succeed, have a great plan, have the great actionable tools, learning more and more from their environment, being around the right circle. But mindset is a huge part of what we talk about. So, Stuart, the reason we did the CEO Secret Weapon was I could talk business stuff and you could talk mindset stuff because they work hand in hand. And without having that, that gold medalist mindset like you bring, you just go into the party with half the tools, really. So I want to get you on the podcast, Stuart, so you could share with the listeners how to build an elite mindset as an A player. Is that okay if you give us some tips on that today? And also your journey, by the way, as well, because you are an A player.
Yeah, because it was 2023 last year. I actually got named as Global Livewire Peak Performance Mindset Specialist of the Year. So I haven't counted that in my list of world champions, but as of yesterday, it's 44 world champions.
44 world champions.
44. Now, it's easy to say that, but it was actually interesting. I was talking to someone today. I've got one of my athletes, every time they beat a new world record, every time they get a new personal best is a new world record. Some of my athletes might have 5, 6, 7, 8 world records along the way. So these are just individuals. So when someone's got 3 or 4 world titles, I still count them as one. Okay. And this is interesting. And this is what we talked about through the CEO's secret weapon, is the fact that the elite athletes, we see them on stages around the world. We see them at the Olympics, on podiums, you name it. They're all over the place. International sports, events. Elite athletes these days, they've got their own branding. Okay, they've got their own branding like I have, the athlete's secret weapon. Their own branding, they've got their own websites, they've got their own merchandise, they've got their social media. They are operating as a business center. So elite athletes are becoming entrepreneurial. And then you look at the other side of it and you look at the typical corporate look that used to be around 20 years ago. You know, the suits, the ties, the short sleeve white shirt, the big ties that stick out over the big beer gut because they spend all day, I'd say, in meetings and restaurants and drinking and that sort of stuff. All those people have begun to disappear. That corporate type is shifted, it's changed. There's a lot more entrepreneurial people that are like yourself. Typically 20 years ago, you'd be wearing a suit and a tie. Okay, you're wearing a polo shirt. I'm doing the same. I'm working with elite athletes today. If I rock up in a suit and tie, they're probably going, oh, this is a bit weird. So business people are more like athletes. Athletes are becoming more like business people. So these two totally different markets are now coming closer and closer together to create this one single entity. So it's fascinating how that works, but it also brings a huge amount of conflict now, because we're all talking about this work-life balance. And to be honest, you know me and I know you, you're probably not using the work-life balance concept. It's more like a work-life integration.
Mm-hmm. And that's the reality, isn't it? That's the reality.
Yeah. And Richard Branson was a classic, and he was interviewed once and said, so how do you manage this work-life balance? And he said, oh, excuse me, not really sure what you mean. They came back and said, work-life balance, how do you manage it? He goes, oh, is there meant to be a difference? And it's just like slap. So you're right. And for me, I mean, even taking calls on a Saturday, because that's when athletes need me most. I might take half a Monday off, but I just get through life and just go, I'm not tired because I love doing this stuff. I know what you're like. You're setting up and doing all sorts of appointments on weekends. Okay, because it's a lifestyle we're creating. What is difficult, though, for many A players and businesses, the traditional methods. Okay, because I'm sure everyone is going through professional development. They're listening to podcasts, they're reading books, they're going to seminars, they're going to workshops. They've got the influencers, or as we often call them, influenzas, that are creating all these diseases. Yeah. These specialist self-appointed gurus and influencers who are creating illness and disease within people because they've got this push, grind, hustle approach. They've got this sleep when you're done, not when you're tired, 24/7. If that's exhausting you, go and get a second side hustle. If you're still not making any money and you're making excuses, that's not good enough. Get back out there and get a fourth job.
So do you think all the side hustle and grind and that stuff like you just mentioned actually slows people down rather than speeds them up?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's diluting things. It's like if you've got one single app open on your phone, you're great. But if you've got 4, 5, 20, 30 of them open, it basically drains a battery. And if you, I mean, even more so males, but you going from this and you have to then respond to this and then come back here, that's a half-hour distraction. Even a quick notification on your emails, you go, oh, let me just double check, and bang, all of a sudden you're out of this state, you're into this state. You've got to deal with that one, process it mentally, then come back to that one to then refocus.
Yeah. So the switching of hats is not a good thing.
Oh, it is when you know how. Know how. And this is typically the main work that I've noticed this year with corporates and my CEOs. I've got CEOs that I'm working with, head of companies that are turning over 400 million a year. And it's exactly the same. And this I won't say the company, but since working with them 2 years ago, their EBITDA has increased 20-something plus %.
Wow.
Now you consider that with a team of 80 staff in one central hub, and then you've got 2,000 consultants and contractors external to that. If you're talking about the business that's turning over 400 million, all of a sudden you've got another 22% on top of it. It's massive.
Incredible. What do you do with it, Stuart? I mean, I've got insight, and also I've been a client of yours, and I've referred people to you all the time. Yeah, and I'm quite open about it. What I did is that I had the fear of public speaking, which turns out is totally against what you do, because it wasn't a fear of public speaking; it was the anxiety of excitement, and not even anxiety. I was excited.
You're excited, and therefore the reaction in the body went to it, and So when you do the public speaking, there is a real energy. There's an adrenaline, there's a surge. And unfortunately, if you're not capable of managing those emotions, it might come across as fear and uncertainty or judgment or whatever it might be. And
Do you
I
know
know
what's
what you're
really
like,
good,
you got
Stuart?
so much.
Sorry, mate. After working with you, what you've just said
Yeah,
there of how you manage it, I was having that conversation with somebody the other day of how I manage things, and like people say, "Well, don't you get stressed like buying into businesses, investing in businesses, growing businesses? You must work with like 20 odd businesses at once." And I went, "Well, no, really. It's quite interesting. Why don't I get stressed?" But that was a big, a big light bulb moment that you've just said there is because of being able to manage the way the
yeah,
emotions work, which
yeah,
came from probably some of the stuff we did together. How long ago now? 7, 8 years ago.
yeah, probably a bit longer.
Yeah. Well, there you go. My
Yeah,
time
and
management in my mind isn't right.
yeah, and this the main thing I'm working on with. Do you have ceiling fans in the UK? I'm not sure if it's going to be cool enough to actually have air flowing around. But sorry, I just had a bit of a dig at you. But when you turn it like a fan on, you've got different zones. You got off, you got one, you got two, you got three different zones. Therefore, three different speeds. Okay, so this is a typical process I'm using at the moment with a lot of entrepreneurial people. Like this guy that was the head of a $400 million per year revenue company. He's got this and he's got sport and he's got his kids stuff and he's got investments here and he's opening up this business and he's got all these other parts to the business. Okay? He was doing 80, 90 hours a week. He wasn't seeing his kids. He was constantly in meetings and on board meetings and doing everything else. We've actually slowed him down so much that he had, I think it was 6, 7 weeks off at Christmas.
Wow.
He only went back to work. He only went back to work today. From, I guess, to some extent, yeah, it's sort of towards the end of December.
So, mate, I mean,
Here's someone.
if he's the CEO, his
Yep,
performance indicators to the shareholders would be that they've got to increase the EBIT, because ultimately that's what the
yeah,
CEO is there for, isn't it? Is to make sure that that business is
yeah.
running well. You've got the resources behind you to ultimately increase that EBIT in the business value. So, how did you helping him take 7 weeks off also equate to, not so that's the
Slowed
same
him
scenario?
down. We
Go on.
slowed him down. Actually, stopped him. The first thing
Yeah.
I did was stop him. Stop him.
Yeah.
Okay, because what happens is when you stop, your brain goes into a nice space. It starts processing. Okay,
Right.
he's quite heavily involved in boats. I said it's the same sort of thing. If you've got the throttle full forward, you are going 100 miles an hour. You've got this massive wake behind you. Okay, what happens if you rip that throttle back? Oh, the boat continues forward. It drops, it nosedives, settles
Mm.
back up again, and then you've got this massive wave and wash behind, which actually creates a nice momentum and a push even further. What we do with him, because he's very entrepreneurial, so the idea is bang, 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 bang. But then his team and I guess the systems delivery people, like the general manager, the CEOs, the head and management, and all the system and administration behind it, they can't keep up with him. Okay?
Mm.
And we've
Mm.
all probably seen these videos on YouTube and Instagram where people are surfing a wake behind a boat. You seen all those?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what happens is when he's close enough, they're surfing and having a bit of a free ride. If he powers off, they fall off the back of it. They're caught up in the wash. So
Mm.
it's actually creating that much more drama and turmoil and conflict in the business because he's already off and they're still getting washed and tumbled.
I hear you.
So
Yeah.
by slowing down, they're actually now being able to catch up and having a bit of a free ride off him. But there was also this perception of being the CEO. You've got to be working harder, you're working harder, working harder. It's a simple thing. You look at this and go, right, if you're doing a 10-hour day, what level of effectiveness are you actually operating at? There's not many people that are operating above 80%. I can tell you that now. Okay, so therefore, how many people are going, I've got to work this 10-hour day because I've got to be looked to be busy. I need to be perceived to be doing my job. And I did this years ago when I was in my sales career and in my profession. It's like everyone's going, oh, I've done 72 hours, I've done 72 hours, I've done 80, I've done 83, and I've done 25. See ya.
Mm.
But the effectiveness, that's the difference. Because if you can say, for example, if you're doing 10 hours a day at 60% effectiveness, Okay, yeah, it might look good, but what are you producing? You're producing something at 60%. So your meetings, your presentation, the work, the expectations, the delivery, and whatever you're generating, whatever you're doing is coming across at 60%. Yeah, sure, you're doing it for 10 hours, but what's stopping you going, let's just go at 100% for 6 hours? Okay, at least you're at 100%. Okay, but then at the end of 6 hours, what have you got? Okay, so most people will be going, oh, there's 4 hours you've got to yourself. There's a new hobby. There's a second side hustle. There's time with your family. That's focusing on health and happiness. Okay, because when you focus on happiness and then health and then your own self-love, then when you go to work or your career or business, whether you're an entrepreneur or intrapreneur, which is an internal entrepreneur within an existing business, then you're going to have a better energy, a better presence, therefore more productive. And I think, and this is definitely what happened with this person in Australia. We slowed him down so much. He's now taking time off. He's being a lot more strategic. He's now trusting the team around him to do the job. Because he's not there overseeing and micromanaging now, because he's seen to be, I have to be busy and I have to be the CEO. Okay? Everyone is now stepping up into their job role. They've got more empowerment. They seem to have more trust about them because all of a sudden the boss is away. He's, as far as they know, he's creating a strategic partnership to bring in the business back in. So now everyone's stepping up to the level they should be at because they're being trusted. Okay?
What about Stu for the team members, like the employees themselves? So managers or employees, and these are the superstars, right? And that's the goal for me in my business coaching world, is that with the businesses that I buy into and invest in, it's about getting the people to start to be as passionate and grow those businesses as the CEO or business owner is. So do you do much work with the team members as well?
Yeah, I've actually done the management conference with the team when they came up to Brisbane, and I've been down there and worked with 2 strategic sectors of the business.
What do you find are their biggest challenges, and how do you help them?
Exhaustion.
Really?
Absolutely exhausted, because stress and pressure and everything else. This business is now going to a 9-day fortnight, okay? And where that extra fortnight day, what he's actually doing now is going, this is not another day off. He's actually labeling it as life day.
Yeah.
Okay? Take your partner out, go into the movies, do something different, go and focus on yourself, have some time off, watch a movie, get a massage, do something that's all about yourself, the self-love.
Amazing.
Okay?
This is an Australian company, a corporation, is it? An Australian corporation you're talking about? Yeah.
Yeah. It's a private company. And this is a guy that when I started working with him and slowing him down and teaching him that happiness is really the number one. Because when you're happy, you overflow into health. When you're happy and healthy, then you overflow into love, which is self-love. Then that overflows into wealth. Okay? Too many people are trying to be happy when they're rich, trying to be happy when they found love. They're going to be happy when they're healthy. Rather than let's be inverted and go, let's focus on happiness. Okay? Because let's face it, if health is a result of happiness, how many people are unhealthy? They're unhealthy for a reason, because they're not happy. So you focus on the happiness, health is going to then overflow into self-love. Then all of a sudden you've got this energy. So instead of, let's call it, if you're full and you've got 10 staff around you, on average, they're only going to get 10% of you. You're going to be empty, you're drained, and you're going home to the people who you want to be around and love you, and you're flatlined, you're out. So when we slow down, we start going, right, what's important to you? What's that life looking like? What's happiness like? Start filling that up and let it overflow into health. Spend some time focusing on your eating, getting a massage. This is the entrepreneurial/athlete version now. Okay? And you look at athletes. Okay? They have rest days too, because they know when they rest, then when they go hard again, they're going on. They are 100% on until they stop. Then they switch off. 100% on, switch off. Whereas most business people, okay, let's just manage our energy just in case.
Just in case. Yeah.
Just in case, because you don't know, because you got to, I need to work hard. I seem to be working hard. They're not working hard. They're just managing energy. It's a bit like these things, mobile phones. Simple. Yeah. If it was charged up at the beginning of the day and you knew you only had 5 hours of operational things, how would you maintain and save the energy? Okay, that's us. Okay,
Yeah.
just think
Yeah.
you've only got 5 hours of 100% usage. Okay, then most people go, oh, but I've got to cover it for 10 hours, therefore I'm only going to put in 50%. See where that is?
Yeah.
So
it's a strange
number
correlation, isn't
one,
it? That people think that they need to be spending time to get results when it's not. The results come from the time managed correctly. You know, we call it in the A Players podcast before, making sure that your power moves are done for the day and making that biggest impact of how it's going to have a difference at the end of the week, rather than climbing the ladder, and at the end of the week you realise your ladder's at the wrong fucking wall.
Yeah, or what are you climbing it for? Just to outclimb someone else? And there's this whole I'm better than you are, better than me, and then you're constantly trying to outdo each other rather than just go, hang on, just come back to the basics. Focus on your health, your happiness, your love, and then that energy person comes into the workforce. And then all of a sudden you got a different presence, you got everything else. So
Stuart, do you know the athletes that you work with? Sorry, mate. There's a bit of a lag on it because obviously you're the other side of the world. I'm in the UK, you're in Australia. But the athletes that you work with...
7 p.m. here and 9 a.m. over there. So time distortion.
Time distortion. You're in the future. The athletes that you work with...
Lovely day. Thanks for
that. The athletes that you work with, then, they obviously highly, highly competitive people. Is that fair to say? Are they you know them deeper, probably deeper than they do? It's some of the stuff that you do as a hypnotherapist and mindset specialist. If they're keeping this competitive advantage, then how do they do it? So you could also share with our listeners, people in business or whatever they may be, great leaders. How do they maintain great competitive advantage without going into this burnout?
Number one, they have their goals set. They know exactly what's going to happen. Okay, they know that in 157 days they're going to be lining up in Paris for the 100-meter freestyle final. Everything is targeted for that specific day.
Interesting.
Okay.
So real clear line of sight, direction of travel. That's what we're going for. Multiple goals or just one? Just the one goal. Yeah. I was listening to a neuroscientist the other day, and he was talking about the brain and mind and goal setting, and how they've done a lot of scientific studies on it, and multiple goals actually slowed down. The people that was measured with multiple goals compared to the one were not achieving goals. Yet the one that had the one built all the tenacity and the resource tools to actually go and achieve it.
Because, it's not necessarily, you know me, for me, it's not about setting one goal, okay? It's about setting happiness goals, health, love, wealth, house, lifestyle, toys, car. They're all the goals, okay? What I look at is beyond the goals. It's like, imagine a hurdle race. You can call the first hurdle a goal. You can call the second one a goal. You can call the third one a goal. Okay, for me, what's the target? The target is to get to the white line first. Okay, so the goals just become a bit of a hurdle on the way through to the finish line, which is what we focus on.
Right.
Okay? Yeah. But we don't want to, if you look at Paris 2024, imagine the 100-meter sprint, but instead of a white line, we're going to put a solid brick wall. Okay, the first one to touch gets a gold medal. Okay, what's going to happen? Okay, they're going to go out hard, but they would start easing off from about 55 meters because they don't want to break themselves at the wall, but they want to be the first to touch. So there's going to be some level of carnage, but it's not going to be head first at 100 miles an hour straight into a wall. Okay, so we've got to look beyond the finish line, which is why I call it the target process. Okay, without a target, you can't score. Simple. Okay, so without the destination, motivation's not going to happen. So how many people just go, oh, let's just see where we go today. Let's just see where the business takes us. Okay, elite athletes don't do that. They just go, I know where I'm going to be. This is what the end result is. This is the time, this date, and this is what I'm wearing. They know 3 years out, 4 years out.
What motivates an elite athlete, Stuart?
The end result. The end result. Okay. And this is for business. I would ask most business people, right, where do you want to be in 3 years' time? The first thing they're going to do is talk about business. I go, no, that's your business. Where are you going to be in 3 years' time? They have no idea. So when it comes to, and you do it differently, I know that. So when it comes to business coaching, it's not about coaching you in the business. It's about coaching you to be the best you that you can be, that then influences business.
Incredible. That's absolutely
so
true.
It's about the person, not the job role. Okay. And the other one is fear.
Hence the podcast A players, by the way, to focus on the person, not just the. I mean, this can be applied to business coaching. It can be applied to executive coaching. It can be applied to change the word. It doesn't matter. It's about building that character.
Yeah. And that's the other thing is, once you've got a direction, then you've got action. Okay. It's quite simple. If someone says, I want to make $1 million in 2 years. Okay. Reasonable action, long period of time, job done. It's just consistent, and it's just following through, focusing on that and get it done in that period of time. But what if all of a sudden we're going to go, okay, so instead of $2 million in 2 years, let's make it 4 million. Let's do it in 1 year. So what we've got is an increase of goal and reduction of time. But you'll find the increased goal and the reduction of time is going to be the same level of energy required. So imagine, 2 million over 2 years versus 2 million over 12. I'll show you. It's probably easier if I show you. Have you got time? Good.
Yeah. I've got a choice. You're the guest. It's your stage. Go for it.
Yeah, I was contacted by a company, and they were talking about goal setting and requirements and setting average goals versus realistic goals, and how people get disappointed if they don't achieve goals. They said, can you come and help? I went, yeah, but I don't enjoy the word realistic, because I don't think it's realistic is average. Okay. We don't want to work with average people. We want awesomeness. Okay. So when I was going there, I'm going, okay, well, maybe you utilize this. There's a 10 out of 10 goal. Okay.
By the way, Stuart, this will be on a podcast and YouTube. So for the podcast listeners, Stuart's drawn an X and a Y axis. And on the Y axis, he's got 10 out of 10. And on the X axis, he's got 10 out of 10.
Yep. Okay. So going down, that's 10 out of 10 goals, 5 out of 10 goals, or 0 goals. Okay. Yep. That's 5 years and 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So most people have got average goals over a long period of time, correct?
Okay. So 5 years.
Goals, 5 out of 10. Okay. So 5 out of 10 goals, halfway up that axis, and then out to the 10 years. Okay. So this part of the triangle represents energy, action, activity, focus to achieve that in that much time. Okay. So like I say to a lot of people, well, motivation's only possible when you have direction. If you're only half motivated, it's probably because your goals are only half the size they should be. So let's have some big ass goals. Okay. So I know
that's a really interesting statement, mate. That's brilliant. Yeah. Can you repeat that back again, please? Because you said that the goals aren't as big as they should be.
Yeah. Well, I've had that before with clients who go, okay, well, this is what I want to achieve this month, but I kind of only went for 2 weeks. I still achieved it, but my productivity dropped off. I went, yeah, probably because you only needed 2 weeks to actually achieve what you thought was going to take 4 weeks to do. So let's increase it again. Let's double it. Where do you want to go? Because if it took you 2 weeks to do a month's worth of revenue, bugger it. Let's go 4 weeks and we can double it. Okay. So this is the other thing. I normally say to people, look, if you're aiming at average goals, there's more people aiming at exactly the same goals. There's more people aiming at the same market. Okay. So average people, average players, average price. Is that where you want to play? No problem at all. Okay. But what if you did, let's go bugger it. Let's go double the goals. And this is what freaks people out. Let's do it in half the time. Okay. Because people go, but that's 4 times. Well, it's not, because what happens, and this is where it's quite powerful, I've now drawn a 10 out of 10 goal. Surely you'd want a 10 out of 10 goal rather than the 5, correct?
Well,
surely you'd want to do it in half the time. Okay, but then it freaks people out. But then you look at this and go, what's the difference in the area of each triangle?
The same. It's the same.
It's exactly the same. So it takes as much energy to achieve double a goal in half the time than half a goal in double the time.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about A players, aim big.
Yeah.
Aim big, do it in half the time. Well, because I'm sure that's what you want. And this is where then the brain starts cutting in and goes, yeah, but what if I don't achieve the 10 out of 10 goal? Okay. What if we go, oh, Stu, you stuffed up. I only got an 8 out of 10. Well, simple. If you're aiming at 5, you're not going to get 8. So the end result is, do you want 8 out of 10 or do you want a 5 out of 10 goal? Okay. Are you happy with 8? Yeah. Cool. You're going to be, let's face it, you're going to be disappointed anyway. If you hit your goal, your average goal at 5 out of 10, you're going to be upset because you aim too low.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know world champions, someone who got 2 world championships in a day. And I went, how do you feel? She goes, well, it's been a good week, Stu, but still more work to do. 2-time Olympian, 10 out of 10 goals, 2 world titles in a day. Okay. Now, still more work to do. So even when they're on the podium, 2 world titles, 2 world records, 2 gold medals, they're still going, no, it's not good enough. I can do more.
There's some people would say that that's a negative thing to have, but personally, I have that mindset of like there's always more to do. They'll go, oh, Lewis, but when do you know when you're doing? You need to relax and things like. Well, look, I am bloody relaxing. I'm having a great time doing it. What pisses me off is if I'm not going towards having more stuff to do. It gets me down.
Yeah.
It gets me depressed. I don't feel good when I'm in that place. Now, going for that 10 out of 10 is. And it's not just a 10 out of 10 of let's just win the week or win the year. Let's go for a 10 out of 10 of what does life 10 out of 10 look like?
Yeah. And this is that goal. This is what I'm saying. Stop, reset, refocus on what's intentional for you. What do you want to achieve? Why do you want to achieve this? Come back out of the business goals and focus on life goals.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I'm sure at the end of it, you don't go, I wish I worked harder.
Yeah, and I see that with so many business owners that I work with and coaching in our community as well. They're talking about like, we want to achieve this business goal, this business goal, this business goal, and I'm like, what impact? So, like you just said there, Stuart, something that I say quite a lot is that if you go for the 5 out of 10 goal in your language, is that going to make a big difference to your life? And most of the time they go, well, it would be a goal that I want to achieve. Would moving to that new house really make an impact on your life and make you feel more successful? Actually, when I think about it that way, no. Would owning that car really make you feel more successful? Yes, it would. Okay, well, that's one of the right goals we need to be aiming for then. Because people just get there, achieve the 5 out of 10, and it makes no impact on their life whatsoever. So going for the 10 out of 10, brilliant.
Yeah. And this is a great thing. I'll come back to this. So if anyone's watching, great. If they're listening, imagine you achieved average goals in an average amount of time. This is where your competitors are also sitting, doing average things.
B players.
Yeah. This is where people are fighting over business and stealing each other's customers and clients. Okay. Right. And they think, oh, I'm successful. This is where you battle on price, not on service or value. Okay.
Wow.
When you suddenly go to double the goals, you can multiply your price by 3 because there's no competition up here because everyone's fighting down here.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Increase the goal half the time, double your prices, and you're going to be better off than playing average. This is where it's hard because then you got the battle of what if, and then you've got to go home and you have to justify why you haven't been successful. You're going to beat yourself up.
Yeah.
But the great thing is you got 10 hours a day at work beating yourself up instead of doing a 6-hour day and spending 4 extra hours working on yourself.
It's exactly true. I mean, I can relate into my own story. So my coaching, for example, I'm quite open with it. People want one-to-one coach with me on a weekly basis. It ranges from £2,500 to £5,000, right? Sounds for some, it sounds like quite a lot. But when they get a 10 times return on that and they turn their business from 100K to 1 million in 18 months, it soon pays off. Now, the coach that I have in my business, I've got a sales coach, I've got a business coach, I've got a financial coach, I've got all, the boardroom table like we spoke about before, Stuart. One of my coaches alone costs £15,000 a month. Yep. One of them. And that's because if I'm going to be the best, I want to invest in the best. And if my clients are going to come be the best, I don't call my clients, I call them the A players. Yeah. The A players are the people that are coming on the journey. They can be clients, they can be managers, they can be employees. It's all of them. But if they're going to be the best, I need to be the best for them and invest in the best.
Yep.
So it's just an interesting scale, like you're just saying there. Aim for 10 out of 10. You'll be spending 10 out of 10 money on the mentors you need, and you will finally be getting that return on investment when you hit that time as well, because you'll be charging 10 out of 10.
And by slowing down, you actually have got more time, you've got more space, therefore more time to think clearly rather than reacting and just responding. Okay, when you stop and take a moment and switch off, then you can switch back on. Okay, and we've done this before. To switch on implies you're switching off, but not many people actually switch off.
Right.
Because they're too busy managing energy and saving energy. They get to the weekend, absolute exhaustion. Whereas what you were saying before, which is how do you go at 100% and then you switch into being a dad, then you switch into being a husband, then you go and focus on your own business and your own coaching, and then you focus on your health, and then you're over here, and then you're back over here. People see you at 100% because it's not about working hard, it's about working smart.
Right.
It's about creating the energy and that passion and the purpose within you that when you go to the office, you're far more effective and efficient because you want to spend more time at home. So it's setting up the systems, the processes, the procedures to spend less time here and more time over here.
Exactly.
I'll come back to this business in Australia, the 400 million. Okay, the CEO of this company now, you know those little swipe cards to get in and out of a building?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's locked them. You can't get in until 8:45 in the morning.
Good. Yeah.
So therefore, if he was in at 7, people go, oh, we need to be in 7. We need to be seen to be working hard. We're going to be there at 7 a.m. He's just going, no, none of the cards work until 8:45. Okay.
For their mindset and their health, not to save on overtime, right?
No, not saving overtime at all. They're doing less than an 8-hour workday now. And he's going, right, why are you here after 5 o'clock? Go home, spend time with your family, go to the gym, do something for yourself, get out of here. If I see you again here after 5 o'clock, bang, warning.
Yeah. That's something I have as in my business. I've got managers and they work their asses off. And they say, Lewis, I've got that done for you. I have to go home and work on it. And I'm like, I appreciate it, but I don't appreciate it. And they look at me and say, why are you pissed off at me when you should be like, well done? I'm like, I'm not going to say well done to you because that's not my values and it's not the company values either.
Yeah. So number 1 is set some big goals. Number 2, stop and slow down. Okay. I use the example in Australia, but you don't have much in the way of beaches over there. We'll use the analogy anyway, body surfing.
Yeah.
Sorry. So body surfing or even surfing, we all know the concept behind it, okay, which is you got a wave coming, okay? Now, what I call within business, there's 3 different types of body surfers or surfers. You've got what I would call the unknowns. They don't know. In Australia, we call them Victorians because they don't have any proper surf beaches. Okay, they're the Victorians. They're the ones that are standing there looking at the ocean getting smacked by these waves.
Because of Victoria, a state in Australia, by the way. It's not because of living in Victorian times.
No. Well,
people have never lived in Australia, they don't know what Victoria is. So yeah.
Here's you go to the beach and you see people getting smacked by these waves. Okay, yeah. It's normal. It happens. Then you've got what I call the entrepreneurial body surfers. They're the ones that are out the back and just going 100 miles an hour to shore. Okay, they're just physically putting everything into it. They are exhausted. Waves are building up behind them. They're landing on top of them. They're tumbling them. They're smashing them. They get to shore absolutely exhausted because they haven't used the process. They haven't used the energy within the ocean. Okay, then you've got the surfers, the body surfers. Go out the back, sit, float around, relax. You see a wave coming, you put yourself in the right position, clear it. Yep, no worries. Bang, wave comes in, short, sharp burst, and you're onto it. Okay? You're onto it and you're actually passing the entrepreneurials who are exhausted, thinking they've got to work hard. And then you're passing the people on the beach that are getting smacked by these waves. Think of this. Everything we do is in a wave. There's energy waves. It's exactly the same wave. It's how you choose to ride it.
Wow.
Are you there getting smashed by them? Are you exhausted because you're trying to get to the end without knowing actually how to do it effectively? Or Do you know how to stop? Focus on where you're going. Find the energy. Then when that wave is there, when that energy wave is there, hop on and take it until you're at the end of your journey. So when you get to the end, you're not going to be exhausted. You're going to be relaxed. You're going to have fun because you use the natural energy that's around.
World class, Stuart. Absolutely world class. And you can see why there's 44 world athletes, gold medalists, right, that you've developed. Mate, as always, and this is why we had a whole podcast series around it, because me and you just get in a room together, we change lives, right? We change lives. We're at the end of the time for this podcast now. We are going to jump into the 100K Club now and just do some short videos of how to use the stuff that you just mentioned to develop towards 100K. So any members that are a part of the 100K Club, they can get the next steps of how they use what you've got to increase their income. But before we do, mate, you've got your Dear Diary process, which is a free tool, right, that anybody can download off your website. Do you want to give people the detail of that?
Absolutely. Yeah, thinking big is not really to be charged. Okay, this is a process where you can change the outcomes. You can change the way you think, the way you believe, the way you act and behave while you're sleeping at night. Okay, this is a process I've created with a professional golfer years ago on the 17th of March 2010. We're coming up to its 14-year anniversary. This professional golfer went, right, this is what I do, this is what I do, this is what I do, up all night, sleeping, worrying about what's happening tomorrow. And he said, I write in my diary every night. I went, why? You've done it. It's history. Why focus on everything you've already done? It's like writing a journal. What are you going to do? Oh, this is what I did wrong. This is what I did wrong. This is what I need to change. This is what I'm no good. This is how I feel. Okay, that's great. But all you're doing, when your brain goes to sleep, whatever's in your brain, that's what it starts processing. So if all you can think of, I'm a loser, I'm no good, I've got to work hard, what the hell's going on tomorrow? That's what's processing in your head. So you're not getting good quality sleep either. As I said to this golfer, I said, right, why not write tonight before you go to bed how your day was tomorrow in advance? That's basically the process. Writing tonight how tomorrow was in advance. Woke up, felt this way, went to the office. Everything was done on my to-do list by 12 o'clock. I made time to stop, go outside for an hour. I went home early, signed up for gym membership, got home by 3 o'clock, had a coffee, sat there with my wife, with my partner, and actually really engaged with my kids at night. Now, what happens is when you write that the night before, that's what you're processing overnight, and that's what creates the next day. Whole process about it, and that was a thought, and now it's published book.
Yeah, and it's also on my shelf behind me as well. Yeah.
So there you go. Look, and all it is, the hardest thing is to actually start thinking about tomorrow in advance. So, given Lewis access to the ebook, if anyone's interested in the ebook, we'll send you the file and go and enjoy it. Okay,
we'll drop the link into the show notes, by the way. So if anybody does want it, just click on the show notes, click the follow, the subscribe for this show at the same time, and you're going to get more tools like this in the future as well. But yeah, your link will be in the show notes, Stu, so people can get that and use it as a resource for their mindset.
Yeah, please. Absolutely. And when you've got it, share it, because when you're using it and everyone else around you is using it, it's like an even bigger ripple effect. Like if everyone knows what everyone else is doing and how you can manifest things, you can change your behaviors, change your actions, change your reactions. If you don't like someone at work, when you go there the next day, all of a sudden you wrote it the night before. When I saw them, I just took a big deep breath in and just went, feel sorry for them. That's their life. I've got to get on with living mine.
Yeah, exactly.
That's incredibly powerful. So yeah, there's a resource, there's a tool. It's transforming lives around the world, 5 minutes a day, and it's all yours for free.
Brilliant. The Dear Diary process. The Dear Diary process by Stuart Walter. I've used it personally, mate. I used it for a long time when I was in Australia. I need to use it again. I've got to be honest. I filled it out, completed it, and it's there. So I'll get the. There's a PDF version and a physical copy, isn't there? You can get a physical copy off Amazon.
Just get the PDF version, grab yourself a diary and just start writing it out. It's good to write it out by hand because it forces your brain to slow down as you're writing it. Be very intentional with it.
Yeah, highly recommend. Why be reactive when we can be proactive for life, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, mate, we're going to jump into the 100K Club now. Thank you for being I'd like to say guest, but it's more like
Feels like home.
collaborator on this, colleague on doing this. I'm sure we'll have you back in the future. Guys, if you're watching on YouTube, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, leave any comments about what you would like Stuart to come back on in the future and talk about, because it's your show. We need to be giving you the content to solve your challenges, not the other way around. So, look, thanks so much, Stuart, for coming on. We're going to jump into the 100K Club now. For all the listeners, be great. And remember to share this with somebody that you feel like could really, really help them out in life. And together, we're all on purpose and all achieving that mission of stepping people into greatness and wealth. Thanks, A players. Catch you on the next episode.